You've been lied to. Killing your ego isn't enlightenment. It's a trap. It keeps you weak, lazy, and exactly where the system wants you. So let's fix that. We all know what it looks like for someone's huge ego to get in their own way. It's cringe, narcissistic, human. Naturally, if we problem solve, we should completely get rid of this ego, right? Kill it, demolish it, destroy it forever, right? Right? Wrong. Humans have always had and will always have an ego. It is literally integrated in our DNA. So what makes an ego bad then? It is to not know our ego. Today I'll be offering 6 solutions on how to live an abundant and spiritual life while coexisting with your ego and keeping it in check. Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Abby. I grew up here in California, heavily influenced by psychedelic culture. I started off my psychedelic journey with DMT when I was 17 and then ayahuasca when I was 18. For those of you who know what that is, it's intense. It's a kind of crazy way to start. Through my journey, I've done psychedelics both with and without shamans in both professional and non-professional settings. And I can confidently say I've left this reality countless times, never sure I'd return. But I'm back. Sorry guys, you couldn't get rid of me. But I came back with one message. True spirituality is loving, embracing, and investing in our physical realm. So I'm gonna teach you how to do that today. So follow along for my 6 tips on how to live an abundantly spiritual life here in the physical realm. All right, step 1, remove limiting beliefs. The spiritual hippie ideal is often rooted in ego rejection, which ironically becomes ego-driven. To define ego, I would consider it the sense of self-importance, as well as a personal identity. So it lies somewhere around there depending on the person. I've found that a lot of people tend to act egotistical actually about not having an ego, which is a whole new ego game. I saw this paradox firsthand when I went to the Dead and Company show. It was a concert in San Francisco, California, 2023, July. Very, very fun time. I got into the general admission floor with my friend's ticket, and there was this, dancing hippies everywhere. It's literally a dream if you're just like into that niche. So I was having absolutely the time of my life when I was randomly approached by this hippie dude with dreads. Very cool looking person, but he had come up to me just so out of line. I'm literally minding my own business. I'm not trying to insert myself anywhere. He just literally came up to me out of nowhere and told me that I don't know what it means to be awakened and that I've been asleep my whole life. Look, I have nothing to prove. Maybe back then I did. I was like not in a very good place mentally, but I didn't say anything. That was just so crazy because I was like, wow, so all of a sudden having no ego is an ego. What? Why are you trying to bring people down? So I just thought that was a funny, pretty extreme example, but I've noticed a lot of people have this sort of sense of self-importance because they've lost their ego and they think they're better, when in reality, we're all just so different from each other, and just acting better than someone else is obviously not the right thing to do. People like him think they have no ego, and now all of a sudden there's some kind of guru, when in reality, you're just doing drugs. No offense. Respect to the hippies, but usually, yeah. He is a perfect example of someone who claims to be a free thinker when he can only hang around other free thinkers without being heavily resentful. That adds up. That adds up. Imagine being a free thinker and you can't hang around other people who don't think like you. Okay. I'd like to make it clear that keeping our human ego in check is a practice, not a mastery. This means we are gonna have to keep ourselves in check for the rest of our lives. It's unfortunate to some, but in reality, just every day is a new day. We're constantly evolving, and there's always going to be new factors. We just gotta keep ourselves in check, and our ego is an integral part of who we are. So don't be afraid. Let's address it like it's our friend. Which takes us to the next step, step 2. Developing a healthy ego is not about ego dissolution. It's about developing a healthy relationship with your ego. So let's be friends with ourselves, with a piece of ourselves. The ego is not a bad thing. Let me just keep making this clear. It's a great servant, but a horrible master. You don't want your ego to control you. So I'm in med school abroad, and I met a dentist who I would consider to be spiritual, and he actually told me something that totally changed the trajectory of how I view the ego. He said, I have to defend and advertise my work. What am I gonna do? Advertise my patients to all my colleagues because I'm so humble? No. Where's your success gonna come from? Obviously. It's so simple, yet it's just so hard because for me, I grew up very stubborn with a huge ego, and then when that finally got crushed, I didn't understand. I was on both sides of the scale. But this is a really great way to just recognize your ego, be aware of it, be cool with it, and have it in check, and use it to your advantage even. This was a turning point on how I viewed the ego. The ego is so powerful. There is hardly one person, probably in this world, that can receive a compliment from someone they deeply admire and not be impacted by that. Our ego is made to protect our physical bodies. So when you try to demolish that, you're actually demolishing your survival instincts, your boundaries, your courage to stand against adversity, all of it gone. And you're left as the shell of a human that you once were. You're left with a potential you left behind. On the contrary, an ego death is actually not so bad either. I know that's totally opposite of what I'm saying. Sometimes we are a little messed up, we are stuck in our own ways, and an ego death sometimes is the only way to rip us out of a traumatic, depressive episode, cyclic OCD thinking. That ego death might sometimes be exactly what we need, but it's short term. So let's get this straight. Ego death is not about losing the ego forever. It's about rebuilding who you are. Whether you went through a transformative life event or a traumatic experience, it isn't about losing yourself. It's about clearing the debris so that you can rebuild yourself into a better, new and improved version of yourself that you've always wanted to be. Just like a forest renews and regrows after a wildfire, our egos sometimes need to die a little, like let go of certain pieces in order to rebuild into a stronger and newer versions of ourselves. That's why during an ego death, especially when using medicinal tools, or not, the set and setting must be safe, intentional, and supportive. When you undergo an ego death, your feelings of safety and identity feel completely stripped away, and you're very vulnerable and sensitive. The experience of losing your ego can actually catalyze and speed up your healing journey as long as you take ownership of this healing and rebuild consciously. But it's important to remember that being left with no ego is not sustainable for our physical world. We need a healthy ego to set boundaries, make decisions, pursue our goals, and navigate relationships in a healthy way. An ego death is not about erasing yourself entirely. It's about removing what's toxic and holding you back. Sometimes in doing so, you have to get rid of more than what's just toxic and start from the very beginning so that you can rebuild a version of yourself that's stronger, more aligned, and grounded. In short, you don't want to stay in a state of ego death. You want to use it as a turning point. The goal is to come back with a clearer mind, healthier identity, and a deepened connection to life. Which leads us into number 3, embrace the physical realm. Once you discover the spiritual plane, you'll soon begin to realize that the concept of infinity doesn't only belong there, it also belongs here in the form of infinite possibilities of success on this earth. Here in the physical realm, the earth is your playground. Use the resources that God and universe provided just for you. Because one day, just like ancient empires, none of this is going to exist anymore, and literally it doesn't matter. It's all gonna be gone. And so you don't want insecurity and doubt to get in your way. So don't be shy. Pick the fruits from the trees of opportunity. These fruits look like school, jobs, internships, volunteer work, open call casting for dance and modeling and acting. You never know. The possibilities are endless, and those first few things about school and jobs, they sound boring, but in reality, they exist in every single niche. And in my opinion, my personal experience has proven to me that the only way to find your niche is to walk through one of these doors and just find out. Because truly spiritual people also have worldly success. Take Ram Dass, for example. He is a deeply spiritual teacher. Most people see him as the ultimate hippie. But before that, he was a Harvard professor. He was respected, brilliant, successful, grounded in the material world. And then he realized something was missing. Spirituality. He saw that the money, the career, the titles, that was only the tip of the iceberg. There was a deeper layer: meaning, connection, and fulfillment. But here's the thing. If you jump into spirituality before having any sort of foundation in the physical world, you're always going to wonder, would success have fulfilled me more? The question lingers, and it can turn into quiet resentment towards others and towards the world. You might even begin judging people who have made it materially. But the truth is, the spiritual realm and the physical realm are not enemies. They're actually not in competition at all. They serve completely different roles. One isn't better than the other. Here's the deeper truth. We are spiritual beings living in a physical world. So we must become well adjusted to both. Think about raising a child. They start off with pure instinct. They want to play, they crave candy, so emotional. But over time, as we grow up, we have to become adjusted in order to function in society. For many of us, we keep adjusting a little too far. We start living by rules, roles, and expectations that are very rigid. Honestly, this starts to disconnect us from our true spiritual nature. And that's when the pain starts to settle in. And it's because we start to feel like we're playing a part. We start to feel inauthentic, stuck. That was Ram Dass's story too. He was very well adjusted, doing all the right things. But when he realized that the human game isn't everything, he began to turn inwards and open these spiritual doors. And often, once those spiritual doors open, sometimes the door can swing way too far, shut itself, and people turn their backs on the material world altogether. But that's not the point either. The goal isn't to choose between two worlds, it's to integrate them. It's to have spiritual depth while participating in life fully, to balance your soul and your body, to be both grounded and awakened. It's like the yin and the yang, like the visible and the invisible part of the iceberg. I'm here, your favorite Libra, trying to keep you in balance. If you reject either one, what you end up doing is missing out on half of the beauty life has to offer you. This is the exact path I'm walking, through action, pain, healing, repeat. Every day I wake up and I'm learning again and again to keep bridging these two worlds. Like I said, it's a practice, not a mastery, and it gets easier with time. And I'm not doing it perfectly, but I'm doing it consciously. And if this resonates with you, I highly recommend checking out Ram Dass's videos right here on YouTube. They're absolute gems. And speaking of pain, this leads us to number 4. Don't stop moving just because it hurts. Keep moving forward, even with the heaviest heart of pain. If you're scared, be scared. If you're hurt, be hurt. Be insecure even. Whatever you are, just feel it and keep on going. Because the more you face hard things, the easier the rest of your life becomes. I am living proof of this. The future starts today and a better tomorrow. Just try it and see. But if you avoid pain and shove it under the rug, you don't give your body the chance it needs to heal, to get stronger, and to adapt to every type of pain. And trust me, the human body is so damn resilient. So don't let pain stop you from showing up. This is the art of showing up. A sick day, totally okay. But never, ever give up on yourself. No matter your age, it is your job and your job alone to heal your past, learn to stay present, and be open to growth. This is all it requires to build a hopeful future. Balance your focus. Dwelling too much on the past or obsessing too much with the future is only going to drain your energy, and it is your energy that you need in order to survive and create the abundant lifestyle. When your thoughts spiral, try a guided meditation. I know it might sound cringe, but you really need to try it, and you need to give multiple different people online a chance. I actually have always wanted to do that, so if you're interested in one from me, let me know. Or you can talk to a therapist. And hold on. I know there's a lot of preconceptions about therapy. They don't know you deeply. You have to explain the whole story. They don't get you. But guess what? Sometimes scheduling therapy is the only way to make time for your mind and your mental health in a busy schedule. So they can actually help you organize your life and organize your mind. They don't have to know you deeply to do this. Everything is easier from a third-person perspective, like how it's easy to give advice, like me today, versus taking our own advice, which I'm trying to get better at. Don't judge me. So now I'm gonna tell you what helps me when I feel anxious about the past, present, and future, starting with the past. When I feel anxious about the past, it helps to clean up old messes, make amends, and journal. Writing is something I've always done ever since I was young, so I have built the habit, but I know how it feels when your mind is racing faster than you're writing, and this actually just is so grounding of a practice, so I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite things in the world to do. Next of all, the present. If you really want to get in on the present moment, follow these 2 tips. Listen to your breath and listen to your heartbeat. They are right there. And it's not meant to remind you of your mortality. I've been there. I used to get scared of death whenever I would hear my breath and hear my heartbeat. But no, it's not a reminder of death. It's actually a reminder that you naturally are self-sufficient and supporting yourself. No matter what, your whole life, your heart and your breath has been there for you. What a blessing. It shows you that you having your own back is completely natural and in fact, your birthright. And now here's what helps me remove anxiety when I think about the future. Set yourself up for success. Get an early night when your friends are going out. Eat healthier food. Say no to the fast food with your friends or family, whatever. Next of all, apply to that job, school, internship, club, open call casting, all these opportunities. Do it. Sign up. Put your name down like you exist. Don't miss out, you know? Also, clean up after yourself. You don't need a reminder of you in the past. Just clean up after yourself, and that'll give you space in your mind to just keep making new memories and move forward. And last of all, make sure to put yourself out there, because when you put yourself out there, you let the world reveal itself to you. It might sound simple, but it has done that in miraculous ways in my life that would take hours to even try to explain. But moments like those, really oddly specific ways the world has revealed itself to me, has actually brought me closer to spirituality. And if you feel stuck, like you are getting in your own way no matter what, maybe it's not your pain. Maybe it's your obsession with your comfort. Number 5, don't let your comfort zone steal your potential for happiness. Humans are quite literally wired for comfort. Even if it's toxic, even if it's bad for you, comfort is one of the only things that comes naturally to us. But happiness requires work. They do not easily coexist. It requires work. I just realized one of my shoes is missing. I was trying some clothes on while my battery was charging. Oops. If you want to receive the gifts that the universe literally has for you, you need to identify and remove the blockages and obstacles in your life. And yes, your comfort zone, more likely than not, is exactly the problem. I have a list here of things that maybe you need to work on. So I need to work on some of these, hey, but we're all here to work on ourselves. First of all, people pleasing and fearing conflict and confrontation. Been there, done that, and been there again. Staying close to negative, self-deprecating friends. Finally, I'm done with this shit. Finally, it took so long. Not ending a toxic relationship. I see you guys. You gotta get out of that shit. I'm sorry. Not working on improving your living situation every single day. Every day you need to take steps for this. It does not happen overnight. Doom scrolling or procrastinating, very relatable. We all do this. What I do is I actually take intervals of deleting and downloading Instagram on my phone. Comfort eating and substance abuse. This is really, really big. This comes with usually mental illnesses that actually need to be addressed, whether it be a therapist, a program, whatever it might be. But these are so real. This is obsession with your comfort and your state of feeling. The list goes on. Seriously, it's long. But it almost seems like humans are wired for comfort and not happiness. It's almost like happiness requires actual effort. Here are some simple and powerful examples that I wrote down here. Never stop learning how to be healthier and drink more water than you want to. 9 times out of 10, we are dehydrated. Working out. Almost nobody wants to do it, but being fit and strong feels good physically, mentally. You have a lot of stuff going on in your brain. Things get cleared like actual magic, not even a joke. When you build a tiny bit of strength, just a tiny bit, it literally makes everything so much easier. Like the bag that you carry to work every day, you're gonna be like, dang, this bag's lighter, wow. My day is easier. It requires less energy to actually undergo each and every task because you're literally stronger. You wouldn't even believe how insane of a difference it is. Working out is quite magical, actually. Like I said, not only does it improve your mental health, it also improves your posture, because posture is about muscles. It is not about the constant OCD reminder to stand up straight. Literally, it's all about your muscles. So with that, it can help you relieve some anxiety when you're actually working, if you can have a consistent workout routine for your back. And of course, with all of that, you're improving your confidence. And now we are on step 6. The number one thing that is going to stunt your spiritual growth is self-hate. Love grows and hate shrinks. Of course, the inner Libra in me is gonna say, oh, but you need to be hard on yourself to keep yourself in check. Yeah, but wouldn't you agree that most of us take that out of hand? This is exactly the thing about hateful versus loving parents. When raising a child, it is the kids that grew up surrounded around love that had an easier time making friends and trying new things, and so many other scientifically proven things. But the kids who grew up in a hateful environment, resentful environment, they were very insecure at a very young age, and it's completely normal given the circumstances. Now it is time to be your own parent. You have to start reframing this failure as growth. We all start from different places, but the people who know the depths of the darkness have more potential to reap the highest of the lights and blessings that the universe has to offer, versus a mundane middle ground where people are too afraid to reach towards the stars. Start reframing failure as growth. Stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? I was trying to give it a ring to it. That didn't work. But why should we ask this? It's because the ego fears failure whereas the soul sees it as evolution. So yes, hold yourself accountable, be disciplined, but hating yourself, that is not productive at all. It's very important to realize that being mad at your past self is actually irrational. It's like being mad at a baby for not knowing how to walk. I mean, you literally couldn't have known then what you know now. And if you did know, then you wouldn't have been able to grow into the person you are today. And like they say, it's about the journey, not the destination. But in all honesty, every second of every day, we are the wisest, most experienced versions of ourselves that has ever existed. Every elapsing second. It's kind of trippy to think about, actually. Also, if your self-worth is really tangled up in your outcomes, then I'm sorry to break it to you, but you're actually just killing your motivation and discipline. This is called ego involvement. When failing starts to feel like you're the failure, your brain is just gonna wanna avoid the whole thing. Your cute little baby brain is gonna have its defense and guard up. You're just gonna need a little break, you know what I mean? And this is what perfectionism can do. And I'm sorry to break it to you again, but this is egotistical. Not everything's about you. Just get your butt back up and put yourself back out there. Get up and try again, you know what I mean? And it's not because you don't care, it might be because you care a little too much. And hold on, I'm not here trying to tell you to lower your standards. All I'm saying is that we could all really benefit from separating our identity from our performance. We all have to fail sometimes. I'm sorry to break it to you. This is reality. We all know this deep down. We all have to fail, and it is completely normal. My dad actually has a fun little saying. He calls it failing forward. Here's an example. One time I failed an exam in med school. This was crazy for me. I was distraught, upset, crying. I call him and he says, "What? No, you didn't fail." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" "Yes, I literally did." He says, "No, now you're 95% of the way to passing next time." That was a crazy thing for me to hear because number one, I'm stubborn, so like I didn't like how right he was and how much sense it made to me. But two, he was so right. But two, it was so true. Like, we make progress and don't like to give ourselves credit for it. So it's very important. Failing forward is so real. The work genuinely gets easier when it's not about proving who you are. You just bounce back from any issue faster and faster each and every time because you're getting humbled. Like, it makes perfect sense, actually. You do not need to overcompensate because you are already enough. It is not the world's job to validate you. It is your job and your job alone to teach yourself how to feel fulfilled. So be proud of you for you because you deserve it. You are a miracle. You are alive. Like, this is literally insane. This sense of self, when you're sure of yourself, I'm telling you, people can sense that. So when it's true, people know it. Like, the people who are fake about it, it only fools some, but then the real ones, they know. So you gotta get sure of yourself sooner or later. All right, so now we've just gone through my major 6 tips, and for anyone who made it to the end, almost the end, I have one bonus tip that has really just plummeted me faster through my spiritual physical journey that I would feel awful not to share, and it is my #1 favorite tip, and it's the hardest one. So if you're ready for a challenge, let's go. Number unofficial 7, keep and make boundaries with your ego-driven desires. Before indulging in excess money, praise, pleasure, validation, you need to ask yourself this: is this activity feeding and nourishing my soul, or is it just feeding my ego? Let's be so real. Let's be so real about it. Because when you're real about it, this is where all the spiritual growth just happens so fast. Why though? It's because unchecked ego, obviously, leads to empty validation, materialism, and mental burnout. It sucks. So let's be so real and give ourselves the lives we deserve. Overall, it really just helps protect my peace. I want to talk a little bit about social media. Very, very important. This is probably the last thing I'm saying. Your girl loves to yap. Oh my god. Really, like, there's so much ego involved with social media. If you feel like you can't step away, it's because your ego and sense of self just feels way too important to step away. Like, oh, they need me. They need me on there. I can't just delete the app. Like, I don't want to share my phone number on my story. Like, they need me. Guess what? I'm sorry to break it to you, but you will not believe how liberating actually it is when you find that nobody needed you at all. And if they did need you, shit wasn't urgent. They could wait. I delete Instagram for usually about a week at a time, and then I download it, delete it, download, delete it. I have Face ID on, so I don't have to memorize my passwords, but I do have them written down somewhere. That's another really good piece of advice, just to get your butt off social media. Every platform has the opportunity to doom scroll. These are gonna lock you in a place that will create self-hate, loss of time, waste of energy, and it's the easiest thing to do. So especially when you're really tired and could be getting quality sleep, this is just gonna rob it from you. Because then guess what? The next day, you're gonna have robot brain because you're tired, autopilot, and you're gonna repeat it all over again. So overall, the biggest thing about that is to live your life. Don't live someone else's filtered social media life through a screen. Don't live vicariously through someone else's life through a screen. That is honestly sad. You have a beautiful life right here for you, and not everything has to be documented. I mean, I'm working on this myself. I love just filming. I want to post and do stuff, but for real, there's a lot of stuff that would be way more sacred if it was left off of the internet. I remember my first time deleting social media was when the political state of the world started getting weirdly thick in 2023. We all know what we're talking about here, and it was a really, really hard time for me because I was able to see people I love and care about on both sides of the argument, and it was actually really damaging to my mental health just to, you know, feel all these feelings and not really know what to do about them. And I would just scroll and get angrier and angrier. And if I had more of an opinion on one side, the internet shows you the opposite. If you have more of an opinion on the other side, the internet purposely shows you the opposite. So my mental health was getting really messed up, and I finally deleted it. I went to school the next day, and I just remember looking out the bus window for what felt like my first time. That was crazy. I was like, there's so many buildings and people and things and plants and trees and things that have lives that, like, people here are all just glued to their phones. This is ridiculous. I need to live. I had this realization. And I also realized the zombie autopilot self constantly checking for Instagram, and it wasn't there. That was really trippy on its own too. Like, wow. But it was so liberating. I highly recommend it. You have no idea. So to summarize this video, by acknowledging your ego and not letting it rule you and not letting it disappear and working towards that balance, using presence rather than perfection, you are going to give yourself a life full of abundance, meaning, love, success, flow, all these amazing things that you've been wanting your whole life. All boils down to your ego. So I really hope something here helped you today, and I'm going to finish you off with this one quote I found on Substack, and I'm gonna read it now. It's about phones and social media. I love it so much. We were never meant to be this overstimulated, chronically unreachable, yet profoundly untouched. We hold deadlines tighter than we hold each other, push our nervous systems through chaos, then flinch at the silence, where anxiety and depression settle like unwanted roommates. So beautiful. Whoever wrote that, good job. If I find the author, I'll put it in the description. Thank you guys so much to each and every one of you who made it to the end. I'm genuinely surprised if you're even able to hear these words right now. This might be my longest video, but I was really passionate about putting all of these details together in one place as sort of a resource. So thank you so much for your presence. And making a difference in this world truly starts with ourselves. And after that, there's a butterfly effect. Before you go, I'm gonna leave you with this one question that you can journal about. Who are you when your ego steps aside completely? Who are you? Journal about it. You can even write it in the comments if you'd like. Thank you guys so much again. It's the tough questions and the tough info and the persistence that's gonna make this world a better place.